What if I told you that the way the US handles crypto was actually decided 250 years ago?
Huh?
Now that Trump has been inaugurated, it's official. The United States is getting its first legal tender cryptocurrency, Trump's own meme coin. That's a joke. For now. But could it actually happen? Maybe. Crypto's been around for over a decade, yet governments still treat it like it's an alien invasion. Some countries just rage quit entirely. Shout out to Nepal, Egypt, and Algeria. And even the so-called developed nations, they're still fumbling around in the dark. Americans, meanwhile, have slightly different concerns. Can the government suddenly regulate crypto? Can I keep using crypto to launder money? And most importantly, will the IRS finally figure out how to tax my JPEGs? Now, if there's any president who would embrace crypto, it's Trump. But if there's also any president who will be blocked at every step by Congress, it's also Trump.
What?
So what does the Constitution say? What does the law say about digital currency? To answer that, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to a time when another revolutionary idea was born. An idea that was seen as just as radical as crypto is today. American independence. Because believe it or not, the battle the Founding Fathers fought against the British Crown has surprising parallels with the battle crypto is fighting against traditional finance. During the late 1700s, the American colonies decided they didn't want to be British anymore. They asked France for help and fought a war with the British Empire. The American Revolution ended with both sides signing the Treaty of Paris, which kicked the British out for good. At first, everything looked great. Freedom, democracy, independence. But there was one tiny issue. The colonists had no idea how to run a country. Their first attempt, the Articles of Confederation, America's original constitution. But as soon as the British left, everything fell apart. Under these articles, the states functioned like separate little countries. They started trade wars with each other, there was no president or executive branch, Congress couldn't even raise taxes. The government was so weak that war veterans weren't getting paid. The economy collapsed. Nothing was getting done. Sound familiar? Because this is exactly how the US handles crypto today. After a few rebellions and a total political meltdown, leaders realized they needed a real constitution. So, in 1787, they met in Philadelphia and wrote a new one with the president, federal government, and tax system. But here came the next problem. How much power should the federal government actually have? The Federalists wanted a strong central government. The Anti-Federalists thought that was a terrible idea. The only way to get the Anti-Federalists to sign the Constitution? A Bill of Rights. And buried inside it was a single amendment that would create legal chaos for centuries to come. The 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Translation: if the Constitution doesn't specifically give power to the federal government, the states get to decide for themselves. And guess what wasn't in the Constitution? Crypto. Since the Founding Fathers weren't Bitcoin miners, crypto isn't mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. That means the federal government doesn't technically have clear authority to regulate it. So what happens? Every agency makes up their own rules. The SEC says crypto is a security like stocks. The IRS says crypto is property pay or capital gains tax. The CFTC says crypto is a commodity like gold or wheat. This means that your Bitcoin is legally a stock, a bag of rice, and a vacation home all at once. And on top of that, every state is doing its own thing. Wyoming and Texas, super crypto friendly. Colorado, you can pay your taxes in crypto. New York, you need an impossible to get license just to operate. Hawaii? They force crypto companies to back all their holdings in fiat currency, making it nearly impossible to run a crypto business there. If George Washington were alive today, he'd probably be sitting on Mount Vernon staring at his laptop wondering why his Ethereum transaction is still pending after 45 minutes. Meanwhile, Thomas Jefferson would be arguing that Dogecoin should be tax-free because it's for the people. This is happening all because of the 10th Amendment. The Founding Fathers never considered crypto, so each state and agency is making it up as they go. And this is where the real problem begins. The problem isn't just that federal agencies classify crypto in different ways, it's that no one truly has the authority to set clear rules. While the SEC, CFTC, and IRS contradict each other, Congress remains largely passive. This creates a legal gray area, where companies and investors are left to figure out compliance on their own, until a regulator suddenly decides they've been doing it wrong all along. The result? Innovation is stifled by fear of unpredictable lawsuits. Cryptocurrencies spend millions in legal fees with no guarantee of compliance. Large crypto-related companies move to countries with clear regulations, such as Singapore and the EU. This situation makes the US increasingly unattractive for crypto innovation. The future of crypto regulation in the US is uncertain, and uncertainty is bad for business. There are two possible scenarios. One, a federal approach. The federal government could establish a unified regulatory framework like the UK and Singapore have done. This would create clarity and make the US more competitive on the global stage. But what if the rules are too strict? Overly harsh regulations could kill innovation. Crypto startups might never get off the ground. Major companies could simply leave the US, moving to more crypto-friendly countries like Switzerland or Dubai. If that happens, the US won't just lose crypto businesses, it'll lose an entire industry to other nations. 2. Decentralized experimentation. Instead of federal oversight, states would continue to experiment with their own approaches, while the government focused on preventing fraud and protecting customers. But what if this leads to even more fragmentation? Crypto businesses might only be able to operate in certain states. A lack of consistency could make interstate transactions nearly impossible. The US could end up with 50 different crypto laws, making regulation a nightmare. If that happens, the US won't just be a complicated place for crypto, it'll be a place where crypto innovation dies. At its core, this debate is about something much bigger. What role does the US want to play in the future of finance? Will crypto be seen as a threat that must be suppressed? Or as an opportunity to lead the financial world? Some countries aren't waiting for the US to make up its mind. El Salvador made history in 2021 by becoming the first nation to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, with President Nayib Bukele promising economic growth, financial inclusion, and an escape from reliance on the US dollar. At first, the move seemed revolutionary. The government launched the Chivo wallet, offering free Bitcoin to citizens and installing Bitcoin ATMs across the country. But the reality? Adoption rates were much lower than expected. Only 7.5% of the population actively uses Bitcoin for transactions. Many Salvadorians still prefer cash, and businesses often refuse to accept Bitcoin due to price volatility. Then came the IMF backlash. The International Monetary Fund warned that Bitcoin's instability could jeopardize El Salvador's economy, urging the country to reconsider its decision. And it worked. Recently, El Salvador downgraded Bitcoin from legal tender to an optional financial asset, a move designed to secure a $1.8 billion IMF loan. Still, Bukele isn't giving up on crypto. The government continues to buy Bitcoin, betting on its long-term value. There's even an ambitious plan for Bitcoin City, a futuristic crypto-powered metropolis fueled by geothermal energy from a volcano. So, what does this mean for the US? El Salvador's experiment proves two things. Government-backed crypto adoption is possible, but without clear regulations, it can be a financial risk. Meanwhile, China has already launched its own central bank digital currency, CBDC, while banning private cryptocurrencies. The EU has passed comprehensive crypto laws with MiCA, providing a legal framework for businesses and investors. The US, on the other hand, is still stuck in a regulatory tug-of-war. While other nations take decisive steps, America risks falling behind in shaping the future of global finance. This isn't just about Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's about who will control the next financial revolution. The question isn't if crypto will reshape the financial world. The question is who will be in charge of it when it happens.